And we are back. Peregrinations is a wordless play exploring the powerful themes of displacement as well as migration. The original music, sound design, and performance. Now, the production features an ensemble of talented artists who bring to life the journey of wandering, both literal and metaphorical, through the use of masks. And here now to share is Peregrinations Outside Eye Director Blake Habermann, and then also performer Duane Cooper. Did I get that right?
Habermann.
Yeah, I knew it.
It's okay.
I knew it. As soon as I said it,
Happens
I
to
turned
everybody.
right. I was so busy worried about peregrinations all day long, and then I mess up on the name.
Not a
Peregrinations
problem.
took all the brain power.
It's a all, you felt me, right?
It's more important. The title's more important than my last name.
Listen. So for those who don't know about Peregrinations, give us a little walkthrough.
Yeah, so it's an original wordless play that makes use of a mask form that are called larval masks. They come from Switzerland. They originate in winter carnival performances in Switzerland, and they were taken by a French theater teacher named Jacques Lecoq and used as a training tool for physical actors. So they're actually significantly larger than a human face, and they're all kind of uniquely shaped. So they call them larval masks because they're somewhere in between a human, an animal, a fantastical figure, and a creature. So we thought they were a perfect metaphor to explore displaced peoples and displaced identities and what we are forced to take on when we arrive in a new place.
So without a mask, you take on displacement.
With a mask.
With the mask, I should say. With a mask, you take on, without words, I should say.
Without words, yeah.
You take on displacement. And as not only do you take on displacement, you also take on migration. How hard is it?
Incredibly, if you're not familiar with the language,
Right.
especially. Ideally, though, it allows you to relate more. You know, you're not as focused on a person's facial expression. You get to see a body experiencing something, and ideally, you get to put your body in that space, put your face on the mask. But again, it's a tricky language to use for those unfamiliar, but ideally, it allows you to focus more on images, the image that you're seeing, and I hopefully give you a feeling.
Right. There's this emotional tone, and then there's also trying to be objective.
Yes.
And there has to be this balance.
Yes.
Hard?
So the majority of the cast are immigrants from different backgrounds.
Right.
We also did interviews with immigrants, some coming from the Middle East into Europe, some coming from Central America into the United States, some of whom immigrated quite young, some of whom immigrated quite recently. So we did a lot of deep, real life research to try to gain the inspiration and that kind of objectivity to create the images that we're using. And so we like to think of it as a poetic interpretation of reality. So we really grounded ourselves in true immigrant experiences, both within the cast and with our interview subjects, and then taking those experiences and trying to essentialize them, universalize them, and find the movement and the images and the dynamics that evoked those emotions that we had experienced.
You also have live sound and original music, right? That fuses in. And talk to me about how that works out for you.
I know for me as a performer, once I step on stage and hear the music, it puts me in a very specific place, and it allows me to get comfortable and feel what is happening in the scenario I'm presenting. And I think it's a great tool for the audience as well. You know, music is the universal language.
Right.
So as an audience member, if you're not necessarily sure what you're seeing on stage, the music allows you to have a feeling about what you're seeing on stage.
My question today is, what do you want the audience to take away?
I think I want people to, as Duane said earlier, place themselves, see themselves, identify themselves. I think the Harlem Nine said it so well earlier, that we see what we want to be, or we see our experience placed on stage in a way that we haven't before, and causes us to think differently about how we view people who come from other places. In our country right now, there's a lot of negative feelings towards people who are coming from other places, as if they're coming here to take things away or prevent us from living our fullest life, as me speaking as a native-born American. But really what they are doing is bringing themselves and their culture to add and enrich the experiences, and that's such a deep part of our historical formation in this country, and we want to continue to respect and accept people as they arrive in all their forms, with all their struggles and all their hopes and aspirations as well.
Yeah,
Just to add to that briefly, a sense of community as well. We want people to walk away feeling that they're not alone.
Right,
and
because
someone else.
you kind of hit on what I was talking about, because when I think about what I was going to ask, I should say, because what I was thinking about the times that we're in, and we understand what it looks like for immigrants and migrants and the scrutiny and the stereotypes and the bias that continues to go on. But your work comes out at a seminal time. And so what do you feel is going to be the response, given the fact that you're coming at a seminal time when, in the eyes of many people, this is much needed?
Yeah, I hope it inspires people to action and to identification and to empathy. Really, at the end of the day, that's what theater is there to do, is to create a collective sense of empathy and shared identity with immigrants, with native-born people, and with the myriad of experiences, because every immigrant has their own story, their own version, their own struggle that they've gone through to find themselves here, to stay connected to where they come from. And so I think it's to really try to foster a collective sense of empathy, which if there's one thing that we might need now, I think it's, let's start with that.
Right,
We can
right.
get better policies from that base, but I'm hoping for that kind of emotional connection.
And understanding as well, a deeper level of understanding of the situation. Even though we might not provide any answers concretely, hopefully you're walking away feeling like you understand what a person is going through, or understand what you're going through personally a bit more.
Right. How do you feel being that person that's also that billboard, if you will, for a deeper conversation and having people to look at migration? I mean, you are that. You're the face, right?
One of the faces.
Right,
one of the faces.
Right. So one of the faces.
That feels great.
But you're standing for me, so you're the face right now. Right.
You got a good
That
face.
feels
That's why we
great.
put it
That
up there.
feels great. If it brings people in, if it attracts a bigger audience for us, then I'm 100% on board with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels nice it's always an icebreaker. Like, oh, I saw you on the thing, I saw you on this. So then let's talk about, what did you see, or what do you think the show is about? You know, it's a great icebreaker, and yeah, hopefully it brings more people in.
Yeah, the arts is always one of those things that unifies people and gets the conversations going, and so it's pretty huge. The collaboration piece, you know, Harlem and I talk a little bit about collaboration.
Yeah.
Talk about the collaboration on your end.
Yeah, so the piece is fully devised by the ensemble. So we didn't have a script when we started out, and we barely have a script now. But so we're writing and staging and developing almost simultaneously. Our composer was with us in the room from the beginning, so she was creating the sound at the same time as we were developing the movement and developing the unfolding sequence of images that we were going to use. Some of which are very narrative, some of which are much more abstract. So you kind of are what we call, writing on your feet. So
Right.
there's a lot of sitting down and talking and figuring things out, and then you get up and you start to create and you start to look. And I was originally a member of the performing ensemble, then shifted into this role just to have somebody to kind of direct traffic primarily. But so that process entails, I think, a really deliberate interrogation of the material, because you're not working with a piece of written text that you say, okay, well, this is what happens, so this is what we have to stage. You say, well, anything can happen, so this could go here, this could go here, and you have to really consider how things, or how you imagine things are going to impact the audience, and what you want to put at the forefront, what you want to put in the background, what you want to draw focus to at different moments. And so it's a much more liberating, but much more
work.
replete with struggle, we'll say, and emotion and passion way of working. But I come from a physical theater background that focuses on ensemble created work. So we think that a bunch of voices in the room can be a little more chaotic, but what comes out of that is sort of a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Okay, before we go, I got to get my struggle out. I looked here, and I knew your name. I messed that up, right? Then I go on, and I look, and I see he's the Outside Eye Director. Now, I mean, I've been doing journalism for a while, a long time. Don't want to tell you how long I've been doing it, but I never heard of an Outside Eye Director. So can you tell me, what exactly does the Outside Eye Director do?
Well, again, it's more of a facilitator for the ideas of the ensemble. So we work in collaboration. A lot of people are making propositions. Maybe they're creating little pieces in a small group or a little solo piece. And then I'm kind of there to look at things in relation to each other, try to put them in sequence, put them in a kind of constellation of images. And it's also, with these masks in particular, they have their own reality, which is it's very difficult for the actors to actually see anything when they're wearing them. They're
Duane is laughing.
Yeah,
I know all about that.
you're basically blind. So unlike actors, we make a lot of use of our peripheral vision, of our body awareness to align ourselves in relation to the stage, to the audience, to the other people who we're working with. But with these on, you're basically like this. So it's harder for them to see themselves in relation to the rest of the stage and to the image, and literally to not bump into things. So that's what they put me there for, is prevent people from bumping into things. That's about it.
That's what the outside eye director
That's I'm very humble.
You need a second eye.
Yeah, you need a second.
You need an outside
I
eye.
kind of figured. I just want to make sure I was right in the ballpark.
Yeah, it's a slightly more collaborative role, or significantly more collaborative role than what you would call a traditional theatrical director, as we don't have a playwright. So I'm sort of trying to act as a playwright and act as that sort of more global, more expansive view of the full stage image, while the actors and the ensemble are still generating the material.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much
being
for
with
having
us. Listen,
Absolute
it's
pleasure.
been great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All righty. Listen, now, if you want more information, visit the website at thetanknyc.org. Forgot about tell people dates.
There will be 4 performances remaining, the 23rd through the 26th of January at the Tank.
All right. At the Tank. You got the dates now. Listen,